Welcome to Beyond the Press Release, a production of Agoracom, in which we take the time with small cap executives after they put out important news. With us today, happy to have him again because he keeps hitting on his drills. Peter Hawley, President CEO, Fabled Silver Gold, trades in Canada under FCO, for our friends in the US under FBSGF. For those new to the story, because you're seeing the price of gold, the price of silver, the price of copper starting to put pressure now. So you see the whole complex. Here's what you don't know about Fabled Silver Gold. Fabled Copper is another company, but you're seeing all the price action. Fabled Silver Gold controls 100% of the Santa Maria gold and silver property in Mexico. It's a high-grade underground silver gold mine situated in the center of the Mexican epithermal silver gold belt, which has reportedly produced more silver than any other equivalent area in the world for the last 500 years. That's how amazing the neighborhood is. In their mining, in their jurisdiction there, a very mining-friendly jurisdiction of Parral, that alone has produced over 250 million ounces of silver. Multiple major operators in the vicinity, including Grupo Mexico that borders in Santa Maria. The company has conducted two types of drill programs, above and underground, targeting previously untested areas, believed to contain further mineralization so that they can add new ounces to the current 43-101. They had great success. We're going to talk about all the success. Peter, welcome back, my friend.
Thanks very much, George. Always great to chat with you.
Hey, I love chatting with you because every time you come up for air, something new and amazing has happened in Mexico. So the press release was Phase 1 exploration review on the Santa Maria property. We're going to bring up some imagery in a second. But before we do that, now that you've done Phase 1, colloquial speaking, layman's terms, how well did it go? How happy are you with the results?
Oh, I'm ecstatic. And you know, it's funny, you could see each result getting better and better as we're getting towards the end of the program. And that's just a result of understanding more and more about the nature of the beast. And so as you gather more data of how it's behaving, George, then your success rate goes up. And hole 50, which ironically was the last hole of the program, was certainly something to think about.
Yeah, so I'm going to read off the result to that, which is you hit high-grade gold returning 86, I'm just rounding here, 86 grams per ton of gold within 4,800 grams per ton of silver equivalent in about 22 meters, grading about 5.3 grams per ton, contained within 350 grams per ton of silver equivalent. I mean, that's a mouthful, all right? There's a lot of within. Again, layman's terms, 1 to 10. How do you guys rate that?
Oh, that's definitely a 10. Maybe it's 11, to tell you the truth. 86 grams of plus of gold. Originally, when I saw that assay, because we had to re-assay it a few times, I actually thought it was in the silver column. I just said, it's not gold. But that's the equivalent of 2.77 troy ounces of gold.
For people who don't know that area, how great of a result is that relative to what, that Parral area, for example, you've seen historically? How do you rank that?
Well, this is where it gets very interesting because, if you go to Google and you Google silver deposits Parral, it'll light up like a Christmas tree and you'll have all kinds of. You go to Google and you type in gold deposits Parral and you won't find any.
Wow. Okay, that says everything.
Yeah.
You guys are finding stuff that they don't typically find in Parral. You're finding gold.
Well, and you got to remember, this is towards the east, central east part of the property. So if you remember holes 20 and 22 during the exploration program, they hit a gold domain system, hydrothermal gold domain system to the west. So this is a second hydrothermal gold domain system that we found. Now, in this case, going to the east. So, and bonanza grades. I mean, you can't argue with that, George. So, what a way to end the program.
You said in your quote, the past year of exploration diamond drilling, underground diamond drilling, definition diamond drilling, and finally surface mapping and sampling has been not only aggressive, which I think the market likes to hear, but has resulted in over 6,900, let's call it 7,000 samples collected and analyzed. How do the results impact overall tonnage of known mineralization, and how do you think these final results will add to it?
Well, what we know now, unequivocally, is there's a relationship between a mineralized diorite dike, and in this case, the original dike, it travels in a northwest direction, and also there's a secondary mineralized diorite dike, and that is in a northeast direction. And so now that we can model these, and on the side of these dikes, you get these breccias, and these are what we're hitting. And that's why I always, if you remember from day one, I kept saying structure on structure, and the footwall zone and the hanging wall zone. Well, what they are is exactly it. You're in the footwall of the dike, and you're on the hanging wall of the dike, and there's your mineralization. So what is the impact? Previous resource went down to about, I believe it was about 120 meters, based on 9,600 meters of drilling, and they came up with about 4 million ounces globally in all categories or whatever. So that was our benchmark. And do I think we have multiples thereof based on this drilling? Yeah. Pretty hard not to. I mean, just look at the drill results. The interesting thing is that our average now is not 120 meters. Probably if you averaged all the holes, it'd be somewhere around 250, 230. Wow. Yeah. So now that we have all this stuff, and then the year-end wrap-up, that's a result of the compiling that we're doing now, trying to do it. And I can tell you, we've pretty well finished picking the, if you want to call it, the next phase of definition diamond drill holes. And right now we're working on the exploration part, because we haven't, over half the property to the east, George, is still unexplored. I mean, it's not a drill hole in it. And knowing what we know now,
looks promising.
Yeah, it does. It does. So,
listen, you got some slides. Should I bring those up here?
Yeah, sure.
To go through those, okay? Because I mean, Santa Maria is it's clear cut in terms of what you've got there. B, but so much going on. I think a picture speaks 1,000 words. So let me share a screen here.
So, George, if you reviewed our successes or our program in the last year from December to December, basically we drilled 50 surface diamond drill holes, of which 36 were called exploration and 14 were definition drill holes. And of course, as the definition drill holes get to the end of the program, you're learning more and more, hence the amount of discoveries that we had. And then also we drilled 21 holes from underground, and for a total of 71 holes, or a little over 15,000 meters. So originally we started to drill 8,000 meters, and we end up over 15. So fairly aggressive.
And by the way, that says a lot right there, Peter, right? You originally want to do 8,000. You essentially did double. Nobody doubles the amount of drilling they're going to do unless they had good reason to do it. You're not in the business of throwing away cash.
Yeah. No. And actually, the point where we started doubling it was when we made the first gold domain discovery in hole 20, George, and that was the point where this was very unusual, and more work had to be required. But as a result, surface drill holes, we took almost 6,000 samples, of which we reported, and then underground we took another 846. And on surface, 120. So generated 6,900 samples or data points. And if you start going through your discoveries or whatever through the season, hole 22 was the breakthrough with the new gold domain. And as you can see, beautiful looking rock, but values.
And by the way, for us at home, Peter, I know you say beautiful looking rock. Most of us don't have much experience looking at rock outside of our backyard. So if you don't mind, maybe tell us what it is about these pictures that make it such beautiful looking rock.
Okay, well, if you remember earlier, I was saying understanding the controls, and on the outside of these mineralized diorite dikes, you have these breccias. So if you look at this rock, you can see it, George. You can see the white is the carbonate along within the broken and sheared rock, healing it, or they call it in geology renealing it. But also going in with that, and you can see my handheld samples down below. You can see the bands of mineralization that flowed in between the broken piece of rock and filled it all up. So this section right here was 1.8 meters, 1.1 kilos of silver with a little over 22 grams of gold. And this one is 180 grams plus of silver with 7 grams plus of gold.
And this is the best. You're saying hole 22 here, hole 20, 22, best intercept.
Hole 20 and 22 best gold intercept.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, because up to that point in time, we're at great silver numbers, but the gold wasn't supposed to be there.
Hey, Peter, by the way, as you flip to the next slide, what has the industry said about this? What have your neighbors, some pretty big companies there, what have they said to you guys about the fact that you're discovering meaningful amounts of gold there?
Well, we've certainly things have been on display and looked at by certain people because it is very unique for the area. I think ultimately, if we're right, and the second phase of drilling should probably prove it for sure.
Wow.
Is there may be a new concept or a new idea that can be reapplied to the camp, and as such, it'll generate so many new targets in the camp that people haven't been looking at, and part of it has to do with this gold hydrothermal domain, George. To be perfectly frank.
And you talk about phase 2, since you just mentioned it, and I'm sure we're going to discuss in detail later, but I just want to give you a quick question with a quick answer now. Yeah. When do you expect phase 2 to start? How intensive will it be, and how long will it take until it's done?
Oof. When to start?
Ballpark.
Yeah, ballpark figure. I would guess by May we'd be back at it again. And this time it would be a little different. There would be 2 drills instead of 1. So we're going twice as fast. And 1 drill would be dedicated to definition drilling and drilling out the mineralized body as we know it now. And the other drill would be designated for pure exploration to the east, or the continuation of the body to the east. And I think between those 2 drills and probably at least minimum 5,000 meters each, that should tell you what's going on.
But so you see, start in May, approximately when will phase 2 end?
It would probably be done by the end of the year. I'll tell you the truth, George. Yeah.
So but 2022 is going to be a big year. All right. Thank you, Peter. Thank you for shedding light on that.
No. But where you see, this is the other gold domain. This is hole 50. But look, this is 21 meters, or almost 22 meters of this great big hydrothermal breccia against the diorite dike. And it's got 349 grams plus of silver equivalent and 5 grams of gold. And then within that, you can break it down and you can get into your 86 grams of, here's an example. 86 grams plus of gold and 393 grams of silver. And when you look at it, remember what we saw in hole 22 earlier. We saw the breccia and the white carbonate renealing or healing it, and then the black sulfides coming in. And here's the exact same beast, George. And boom, that's a lot of metal. But also, before we hit the breccias or the gold domains, we were drilling low sulfidization epithermal mineralization, and many of it, runs in the kilo plus area, and you can see it. And what these textures are is these are actually silver sulfur salts, and they come in a gaseous phase, and then as they cool, you can see the textures they develop as they're cooling, and they're very very plasticky. And all of these are very high-end silver minerals, typical of a high-end epithermal system. Very rare to see.
It's amazing. It's like talking to Sherlock Holmes, because what you see in a rock and what probably 99% of us see in the rock is two different things. But hey, thank goodness you're on our team, Peter.
Yeah, yeah. And this picture here of the core, that's actually the diorite, the mineralized diorite, and this runs 5 grams of gold, the diorite body, which is quite huge. And then finally, in the epithermal contact between the oxide zone and the sulfide zone, you end up with a supergene enriched area. It's the groundwater's percolating through the oxides, and when they hit the sulfides, they create this area here. And you can see, this is kind of soft and goopy, and then you can see it's becoming harder. This supergene is where all the minerals that have been eroded going down are collecting, and this hit here, I believe, was over 3 kilos.
And what do things like this tell you, Peter?
It tells me that there's a lot of juice flowing around in there, and from different sources and different things. I mean, this one here, George, this piece right here, this it was a crazy number it assayed. It was like it was over a kilo of silver, and then there was almost 20% lead, and I don't know, 15% zinc, and a couple of percent copper. Just crazy numbers in pounds and everything else. And this is a feeder, and this is a feeder from coming down below and feeding in this mineralization. It's classic in every way. So what we ended up finding out, and you heard me talk about it earlier, is basically this: we have the north 20 or 30 degree northwest trending diorite dike. You can see it
right here. Yeah, this visual makes it so much easier to understand.
Yeah, and you can see so along this edge here, you would have your mineralized breccias on both sides, and sometimes they get very wide, and they come back, and they come back here, and then they hit a secondary mineralized diorite dike going in the northeast direction,
which you weren't expecting.
No. And it makes a lot of sense because we drilled an exploration hole over here. This is a little hill here, but over in this area. And that hole, I think it was hole 11, it hit a very nice intersection. And I believe what's happened, George, is I believe that this Santa Maria structure right here hit this and was displaced up here.
What do you mean by displaced up there? What do you mean by that?
This is a fault. This is a fault that moved it from point A to point B. Now it's up here. And that's what hole 11 hit. And so now when we start modeling this beast here, I mean, this is actually what it looks like, George, now. It looks like, this.
I like the way you say, when we start modeling this beast.
Yeah. Well, we have it down. We've got it modeled down to 400 meters and over a kilometer. That's in the northeast direction. And now we're just on the northwest. Now we're working on the northeast. But all of it, it has enhanced our stuff. So this right here is a contour. And what it is, it's grade times thickness. So the higher the grade and the bigger the width, the bigger the red blobs you're going to get. And as you can see, and the resource before on this property went like this. And that was about 4 million ounces. So as you can see, George, there's some pretty big red blobs all around here or whatever, and starting to go at depth, quite deep. So you say, at the end of the day, what are you gonna do as part of your drilling? Well, part of our drilling would be back here doing definition drilling, filling this in at depth. But All these arrows here point at exploration targets we haven't even looked at yet. And if we're right, and this diorite dike comes in here and then hits this one and goes up here, this becomes awful interesting. And on top of that, we have IP targets here, geophysical targets here, here, and here, and the vein on surface. And the
Peter,
rock,
by the way, this isn't just you making the call. You got a team of people around you. You guys are all looking at the same data, analyzing, and come to the same basic conclusion, right?
Oh, yes, sir. Our project manager, Wahim Rodriguez, knows the Corral camp like the back of his hand. He's been working in this camp for years. And so we have a team of 5 dedicated geologists with a project manager.
How excited are you guys about phase 2? Given what you're showing us here and what may be there, how excited you guys get those drills in the ground? Like, if you guys got it right, what do you got?
Oh, it's a game changer. And if people, I don't know if way back when we took this on and I was waving my hands go different things, is further to the north off our property. There's a great big graben, and it's called the San Rafael Graben. And what a graben is, it's a great big fault, like a gash in the earth. But this is big and it's tectonic. And that graben came in during the Lorimide deformation, which is the biggest mineralizing event in Mexico's history. And that trends north 40 degrees west. And these diorite dikes here trend north 40 degrees west. So off of this graben, this great big gash, as it fills in and everything else, you get these horse and graben. So basically what they are, George, is like blocks, and they become like piano keys. So one goes up, and then another one will go down. And one of those blocks, the line between one of those blocks coming off of that graben, which is up here, is right through there.
They pretty much got off the screen.
Yeah. So that's
a whole new world. That's an entirely new world, just north of you.
Yeah. So we'll see. So it's been a very interesting exercise, very successful. We've hit, 5 or 6 different types of mineralization, as I've been showing you, from supergene to, high.
Hey, Peter, can I be devil's advocate there? If you hit 5 or 6 different pulses, you guys call them pulses, right? Yeah, if you hit 5 or 6 different. Could it be that maybe it's could that be a negative anyway? Because I just want to play devil's advocate also, which is too much means not enough concentration of 1 or 2 things that you'd want. Generally speaking, does that apply here too, or does that?
Well, I think what's really interesting, what's turned out to be really interesting, when this property was originally looked at, you think of it this way, George, the Mexican Gambesino mentality is they call it the Santa Maria and the Santa Maria vein, the Santa Maria dos vein. And they look at these as veins and, going to go mine them at 1.5 to 2 meters wide and going for super high grade. And is that true? Yes, except I don't think it's called, they're not veins, they're breccias. But the thing is these breccias go out to 22 meters in width with 5 grams of gold and over 300 grams of silver. So yeah, you have a higher grade component in the center of it, but man, you're not going to leave that there, George. So this changes the whole attitude of mining methods you can use and not leaving anything behind. And the other argument you can use too is, what? Price of metals are really high, you take it all. Price of metals go down, you got your high grade core.
Yep. you got some great options there, right?
Yep. Yep. So it's the best of both worlds, actually.
Peter, should I close out this screen here? So,
Yep, that's about it.
well, it's funny when we say that's about it because uh, that's a lot. It was not like, well, that's about it. That's all I got to tell you, George. We'll try and do better. That's a whole lot.
Well, and we, as a friend of mine says, in Salt Lake City, we're going flat out like a lizard, and on top of that, as you know, we spun out Fable Copper and gave 20% of Fable Copper to the shareholders, 20% of the capital in the company. So busy year. I mean,
Yeah, it's been really great. It's been really, really great for the Fable family. Uh, Peter, let me ask you: are there any known comparisons for other systems like this, uh, with so many, pulses or varying types of mineralization? Are there any mines? Anything out there like this?
well, I haven't really researched any, George, to tell you the truth. I'm kind of wrapped up in my own little world, but I know there's nothing like this in the Parral camp, and my playground right now is Parral, so you can be assured that I'm looking at a lot of things in Parral, thinking about this concept that we have. So, is there I don't know. Honestly, I don't know.
Have you got beyond? And we'll end with this because trust me, we can now talk about this for an hour. Obviously, you've got the attention of your neighbors and the mining industry in that area. Are you hearing anything from the industry who outside Mexico? Because you've obviously got a great network. A lot of people. You've had a couple of successful discoveries. So you're not George who just happened to hit a lucky drill bit somewhere. I mean, this you've been around. You get great success, great network. What kind of feedback are you hearing from maybe the rest of the industry?
Well, very well received, but you would never know by looking at our share price, George. That's the ironic thing. I've never seen this before, and we've continuously put out news, good news, weekly almost. And do we get credit for it? Nope, not at all. I've never seen anything like this before in my life. And so,
what do you think is going on? Because obviously, precious, the prices of metals are stable and slowly moving forward. I like that. You're not getting skyrocketing euphoria. Personally, I think what's happened was the last 3-4 years have been dominated by tech and even some cannabis, even though it's been about 3 years, but it's really dominated. I think a lot of people just didn't have their eye on the resources sector. But now we've seen tech soften up. We've seen some NASDAQ weakness, some prices, in the small cap space kind of deflate a little bit. Do you think it's just a case of our investors going to go back to, pardon the pun, the picks and shovels of the small cap space, which is mining is a big part of that, and it's only a matter of time till the story catches up?
Yeah, I think you're partly right there, George, in the sense that there was a lot of money made in the last little bit, like you said, in the tech or in the cannabis sector. It's a lot of money, and that is getting soft, and that money will be deployed in other areas. And typically, if you're looking at investment wise, from financial institutes down to the little guys, a lot of it depends how big your purse is, but a lot of it, as you'll see, is your first investment is in something that's low risk. So you see the Agnico Eagles and the Barricks and this and that, and the techs, and people invest in companies like that. And then the next tier down is the developer / medium size, right? And so that moves down. And people invest in that, and then they go down to advanced development, and it goes all the way down to grassroots. And of course, grassroots are the ones that are the riskiest, or as we used to say in Val-d'Or, you own a bunch of moose pasture. So the so as those get built, there'll be, you know, I guess you would call it a revaluation, I believe, in the mining sector. But I think, for what we've done in 1 year, and I mean, I'm in Canada. I'm the only employee here. I mean, we're on beans and wieners. We put it into the ground, and we've shown what we've done, George. And you just,
Well, I think the timing could be better for you, perhaps, because by the time you're done phase 2, I think you're going to see some. Look, I'm still a big believer in tech. That's a whole other discussion. Tech isn't going away, but I also think we're about to go into a period where investors are saying, "Hey, I can't ignore, really promising small cap mining projects either, right?
yeah,
Small cap resources projects either." And the timing could be right as you start drilling in May. I know you'll end in December, but along the way, we have a pretty good idea. It's not like,
yeah.
okay, we're starting in May. Don't call us. We'll call you in December. By July, August, I'm assuming we're going to have some pretty good feedback as to where we are.
Oh yeah, and us, we're not like one of these companies that drill a bunch of holes and don't tell anyone for 6 months, and then in 6 months they go out and they publish 20 drill holes and say, "Well, that's the end of the program. See you."
No, you've been
As
smart about it.
as the holes came in, we put them out, good or bad, big intersections. But we're putting out one after another. And
And by the way, on that note, because I know you've got to run, good and bad. I mean, from a batting average point of view, you guys hit it out of the park this year in terms
yeah,
of the successful drill holes versus. Do you have the final tally? Ballpark.
I don't.
Baseball. If you're 1 for 3, you're a Hall of Famer. How are you guys on? How's your batting average in every time you guys put a drill in the ground this year?
Actually, there was 2 holes that missed out of how many did I say we drilled? 90 something or whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
two
Wow.
holes. Yeah,
Yeah, that's forget Hall of Fame. That's legendary. That's
yeah.
legendary. It's in legendary status. So, Peter, I mean, look, I don't think you could have done much more. I don't think there's any company could have done much more in its first year than you guys have done on Santa Maria. I think it's unbelievable work, unless I'm missing something. And given the fact you're going to phase 2 now, armed with so much more information, and so many more, and so many more resources in terms of financial and people and all that. I can't wait to see what's going to happen in 2022.
Yeah, we'll put the truth machine to the ground once more and find out what's there, George.
Well, Peter, can't wait. But today we celebrate a very, very highly successful phase 1, and I think I speak on behalf of all shareholders when I say, for the part that you can control, you guys did right by the shareholders, did right by the property. You guys did really amazing stuff, and now onward and upward to the next chapter of the story.
I appreciate that, George, very much. Thank you.
For everybody at home, you've been watching or been listening by podcast on Spotify, Google, Apple, your favorite podcast platform. To Peter Hawley, President CEO of Fabled Silver Gold, trades in Canada under FCO, and for our friends in the US, FB, SGF. Now's the time for you to do your due diligence. 2 ways to do that. First, get to the profile page of Agoracom, because there's a lot going on. Don't fool yourself. There's so much happening. So we've got a good, we've laid out nice enough for you to give you 1,000-foot overview, really good overview that you can put your arms around and understand. And then when you're ready to take that for your deep dive due diligence, head right over to the Fabled Silver Gold website from Agoracom and do your deep dive. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. See you next time.
Bye.
Hey guys, this video is over, but don't forget to help your company by liking it and even leaving a comment below. And then don't forget to help yourself by subscribing to our channel and never missing another great Agoracom small cap video.